Welcome back to Student Hub Live, Faculty of Arts and Social Sciences new curriculum showcase. Today, we're going to be talking about not just one module, but a qualification, R27, which is our BA Honours in Art History and Visual Cultures, which the team who are going to be joining me to discuss this are super excited about. So I'd like to welcome Angeliki and Susie and Warren. Susie, I must say you have a fabulous cake there. Everyone, I bet, is going to be talking about it immediately. And is it a real cake, Susie, I must ask?
It's definitely real because I'm having to endure the lovely smell, which I can't eat yet. So it's for real. It's Mary Berry for you bakers at home. It's one of Mary Berry's classic Victoria chocolate sponge.
Well, Susie, I must say that's a schoolboy error coming here to talk about something sensible and bringing a fabulous cake like that, because I bet you HJ and Co in the chat will be now solely discussing any of that. So while I let them get on with doing that for now, let's first start by, if I can ask each of you about your special area of art history before we actually start to talk about the degree. And the wonderful thing is that you're all very, very varied, as we shall find out here. Hey, Megan. So, Angeliki, what is your speciality?
And I'm actually a Byzantine archaeologist and art historian, and I also contribute to the early modern curriculum, part of the curriculum at the Open University. At the moment, I'm also qualification lead for art history, but not for long. After 8 years, I'm going to be stepping down. And I currently chair the level 2 art and visual culture. 8226, sorry for the students who are taking it.
Brilliant. Yes, we all know our module code. That's wonderful. Thank you, Angeliki. And Susie, what's your area of interest?
Well, apart from cakes, I'm an architectural historian. So as a senior lecturer, I focus on historic buildings, and I particularly work on the English country house. I've contributed from level 1 right up to the MA. So we try and weave architecture through all of our modules.
That's wonderful. So you like building things, Susie,
I
including
do,
layered
hence
cakes. Yes.
cake, yes.
Lovely. And Warren, what about you with your wonderful
Well,
bookshelf?
I'm a modernist, so I work mainly on 20th century art up to the present, in fact. And I'm chair of A344, which is Art and its Global Histories, which has now just finished its third presentation, and we're very proud of that course. I've just almost finished the unit for A112. Art Against Power, Propaganda and Satire. And I'm now chair of A236, which we have our first module team on Wednesday. So that's very, very exciting. So I'm all over the syllabus like a rash, basically.
You are certainly, Warren. Who said your workload planning? We were talking about A112 and A113 and how to choose between them earlier today, and we were in all sorts of confusion. So I'm not going to ask you which you would choose to look at. But in that particular discussion, one thing we were looking at was the journey of students when they started at level 1 and had quite a broad offering, and then their second level 1 module, what they would do. So our students would be moving, I guess, from A111, Discovering Arts and Humanities. So what can they study then at level 1 in terms of art history now?
Well, if I can come in
Susie,
on that for A111, this is just coming to the end of its first presentation, so it's quite new and shiny. And if you haven't already studied it, you encounter art, architecture, and design in every quarter of that module. So it's sliced up. And we kick off in a really compelling way because the first part of that module looks at reputations, and we work with an artist whose name will set immediate bells ringing, and that is Vincent Van Gogh. So if you didn't know any of his works, if you didn't connect his name to the works, you would know the works as soon as they were put in front of you. If I just say sunflowers, you will be there. So that's a nice way of stepping into art history, your first OU module, your first encounter with art history. And we get you involved in the rest of architecture and design in a similar sort of very striking, very immediate fashion. We try and connect it to helping you think about your own locality, things that you might see where you live as well. So A111 is a really good open door for art history.
And then students will go on to A112. So Warren, you were telling us a little bit earlier about some of your contributions to that module, cultures. So what can students look forward to there from you and others in terms of
Well,
art history?
sure. Well, on A112, it's not just art history, it's English, creative writing, and I've forgotten the other one.
Oh, there's
It's
heaps in
creative
there. There's
writing.
4 lots of things in there.
Classical studies.
Yeah, classical
Classical studies.
studies. Yeah. And in art history, there's 3 units. The first one is on power and the Renaissance portrait, which is by colleague Leah, which is fantastic. The next one is on power in terms of the country house, and it looks at Bess of Hardwick and Hardwick Hall, again by my colleague Claire Taylor, fantastic one. And then there's my unit, which is art against power, satire and propaganda. And I took over from a colleague who wasn't able to do the unit, so I came in quite late. But with that title, it was a dream come true. I just drew up a wish list of my favourite artists from the 18th century through to the present. So from Goya through to the Guerrilla Girls. And it's quite timely because I finished looking at how African Americans and Asian Americans put pressure on art institutions in New York in the period after 1968. So they would show artists, non-white artists and non-male artists for the first time significantly. So it times very well with events in the real world that are happening now. So yeah, very exciting.
Sounds brilliant. Now, before we start looking at level 2, I wonder if we might just take a trip to HJ and see if there are any sensible questions other than how Susie made her cake, which I know everyone's talking about.
I know everyone's talking about. You didn't even need to ask me. Everyone's talking about the cake. Peter was very lucky. Earlier this week, he had a carrot cake delivered for his birthday, which sounds fantastic. And Roxanne definitely agrees that the cake is torture just sitting there in front of us. So we're hoping we can share some later on. But Peter said he took the previous, an older module, Art of the 20th Century Modernism, and really enjoyed it and got a lot out of it. So the new module sounds absolutely fantastic. And a lot of people who are interested in their history from the level 1 modules we spoke about earlier are looking at this as well.
Brilliant. No, absolutely. Well, do make the most of having our guests here. So let us know if there are questions you'd like to talk about. I hope you've got some cake as well there, HJ, too. So let's talk about the way in which students can move from level 1 onto level 2. So Angeliki, can you fill us in there in terms of what students might look forward to when they start our level 2 modules within this qualification?
Right. The current level 2 we have in OU language A226. It's actually I'm currently chairing it, and it's in 3 books. And actually, it helps the students to focus into issues of art history. The overarching question we're asking is what is art? What is art? Which is obviously a very difficult question, but we're trying to ease students through 3 different books, starting from 1100 and going up to present day. A lot of material, but we have divided in chunks, little chunks, very nice, tasty bites, not probably as mouth-watering as Susie's cake, and very interesting. Now, as Warren said, because we have now R27, yay, our name degree, we have so much tried hard, and we're so happy about it. Warren will be chairing the new level 2 in production, and I will be chairing the other level 2 module in production, which will replace eventually A226. So again, we're going to have 2 distinct areas, obviously. But at the moment, our flagship remains A226, and you can dip in starting from medieval, 1100, and going down to 2010, modern art. It's really, really fantastic, and it takes around many interesting areas of art. Well,
brilliant.
That's what, yeah.
So
I think it's fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, good. we set a challenge for our audience about what they think is the nation's most loved piece of artwork. HJ, are people getting to grips with that poll right now? And any suggestions about what they think the nation's best loved artwork is?
Yeah, so a lot of people are saying some really interesting things. So Banksy is one of our biggest ones. Someone said the Boudica statue, poppies, the Houses of Parliament, so art in what we built, Mona Lisa, chalk horse, the hay wain, so water lilies as well. So maybe not things that were necessarily made by British artists, but still best loved by ourselves at Student Hub as well. But I think the best piece of art I've got is now I've finally got my piece of cake. So I hope everyone else
Ooh.
has as well, because I'm looking forward to that. I've even got sprinkles on top. So I'm not sure if this beats
Aw.
a good homemade carrot cake that Peter got. I'm looking forward to having this as well. But does cake count as art? We'll find out soon, won't we?
Probably not. It's probably got something to do with it. I don't know. Let's ask our panelists. What do you think of what people have said at home? Isn't that a varied response in terms of what people think the nation's favourite artwork is?
Well, I chose that question because on A112, my unit starts off with a comparison between a Banksy work and a work by Peter Kennard. And it was a 2017 poll conducted by an insurance company, which revealed that it was Banksy's Girl with Balloon, which was the nation's favourite artwork. So
Wow.
whoever
So
said
our
that was
audience is
right.
right. Yes. Well done. Excellent. Well, a
Yeah.
lot of people did because it was the thing that came up a lot. So that's brilliant. Excellent. Okay. Great. So you're writing lots at level 2, and there's lots of change going to happen there. And then we get to level 3. So this is a new qualification. You're sort of scaffolding things as you're going and writing the modules as you sort of in presentation. So there's a lot of work to do. So tell us then about your plans for level 3.
Well, level 3, as I say already, I'm chair of A344, Art and its Global Histories. But coming back to the forming of a degree path in art history, it's a very exciting moment because we've got brand new first level materials in A111 and A112. A344 has only just finished its third presentation, and we've got 2 second level modules in production. So it's the first opportunity ever to really stitch the different levels together in a really coherent and fantastic way. So the student builds very gently from first level through second to third level. And again, art in its global histories is very present and very timely because, as the title implies, we look at how European art has been formed in relation to art from the rest of the world through colonialism, imperialism, etc. So it's a very timely subject. So these things we picked up at level 2, which help students progress to level 3. So very, very exciting times, and I'm very, very happy to be part of this.
Wonderful.
And can I add that we're going to have another level also, another new level 3 module preparing. So we have a project module which we will be preparing on top of everything. So, but yeah, watch this space basically.
Gosh, Susie, I don't know how you've got time to bake with such activity going on. There's loads there. I mean, one of the things I'm just very mindful of is that, since this pandemic, so much has changed, and many art galleries have opened up, tours in ways that we would have never been able to access art in such close detail, seeing things 3D. And this idea has been very novel to many people, but it's not novel. I remember when we were talking about A344 and the way in which the Open University teach students about art and artifacts and how you've got often 3D images and access to things that are really quite remarkable. So I wonder if we can think about sort of in the context of this pandemic, how we might sort of keep in touch with art and artifacts across the globe and what doors have been opened as a result of this lockdown. Susie,
Well,
what have you
I'm
been
sure
doing?
many of you have already followed up your own interests. I mean, I've been really struck by, as you say, Karen, the explosion of open access resources, museums actually making specially made films during the pandemic so that they can keep their galleries going virtually for the rest of us, and that's great. We've gone, put our thinking hats on, and we've added some resources some of which you might not have found already, we hope. So you can find those on the resources section of this Student Hub website. Personally, I found an online exhibition about the Great Cathedral of Notre Dame in Paris. Most people will remember that was very badly damaged by fire. So I found that online exhibition very poignant as we wait for the pandemic, obviously, to lift and resolve, for that great monument of French history to be restored.
Now, before I ask you, Warren and Angeliki, let's see what people said at home about their 3 top online art experiences. So, HJ, can you talk us through some of these?
Yeah, so some people said the Tate Modern. This always happens, doesn't it, when we're doing online broadcasts?
Oh, it
I have a little
freezes and
trouble.
then it, yeah. So
That's
we've
it.
got lots
Yeah,
of
I'm
things
having a
there.
little
I
trouble.
can't see most of them. That's all right. Lots of different ones there.
There we go. I've got a
Susie,
couple.
oh, yeah.
So we've got Hardwick Hall in Derbyshire as well. Harlem Renaissance as well. Yes, so we got a few. Not all of them I can see though.
Oh, that's fantastic. Okay, what about you then, Warren?
I snuck into the Andy Warhol show at the Tate Modern just before lockdown, so that was very timely. I think it closed about 2 days later. But since lockdown, I watched a amazing 3-hour documentary on the National Gallery, and as well as observing people moving around the collection, there were people in there teaching children. There were meetings about financing and advertising. There was behind the scenes look at exhibition planning. It just 3 hours just flew by, and it really reminded me of being in a gallery space again. So there was something very charming about it. I loved it.
Oh, that's amazing. I used to work opposite that and I used to go into it a lot at lunch. It was so calm and tranquil. Angeliki, what have you been doing?
Actually have been working on my own photos. I have thousands of photos from my project, which is my book is going to be published actually on 7th of August, I've been told. The book is coming out on the representations of hell in the Mediterranean. I have thousands of photos which I need to put in a database, which will be open to access free of charge. So I'm working on that. I've been really looking at my photos mainly, but also I have been looking into the visual commentary of scripture, which is an initiative online by King's College. And for anybody who has an interest on that, just dip in. It's very, very cleverly done. You have a comment from the scripture and 3 images, not just early modern, they go even to postmodern as well, commenting on that. And it's absolutely brilliantly put together, this kind of visual commentary and exhibition. I have contributed to that. So yeah, I've been doing that as well.
That sounds fantastic. So just to end, I'm going to ask you, Warren, to sum this up for us, if I may, about why an art history degree is a good thing to have. And then I think we need to let Susie go and eat her cake after that. So could you just sort of fill us in terms of why art history makes a good, robust degree?
Well, in terms of visual literacy, it's very important because we're surrounded by images from the moment we in the house to the moment we walk out the door. So it builds in a kind of knowledge of how you engage with imagery in the wider world, but also just in terms of history. I've always been fascinated by history, and history of art allows you a kind of portal into history as a subject by looking at images, buildings, sculptures, whatever. And I also think. Often people from certain backgrounds don't really think it's a subject for them. I was never taken to an art gallery as a child. In fact, I didn't go till I was 18 for the first time. So I think it's about studying something and making it part of your life, a part of your intellectual inquiry. So for those reasons, plus many more, I think it's a brilliant subject and I never look back. I'm very happy with what I do. And I love teaching our youth students about it as well.
Oh, the whole department is so passionate about things. Angeliki, and we don't really have a huge amount of time left, but I know you had an artifact that you wanted to share. So very briefly, could you tell us about how something like this can just tell more than a story?
Right. For those of us, sorry, I'm just trying to make it.
Yeah. There we are. Perfect. Yeah.
Yeah. it's just, I know it is a very difficult thing. And for actually a lot of people, including my own family, find it very scary because to them, Byzantine art looks all the same, which I'm trying to say, no, it doesn't. And for those of the students who are familiar with Renaissance Art Reconsidered, the level 3 module, which was very popular, looking at it, they would recognize immediately. Where does it come from? It's actually from Crete. That the persuasion would have been Greek Orthodox, and also the political and historic background. So just by looking at this icon, you get very, very quickly 3 major points about this artifact. So by studying art history, you can do that all around you. We are actually asked to assess visual information very quickly. We have to make decisions even when we're driving. So art history gives you a lot of basic stuff, information, and very, very, very mouth-watering pieces. Better than the cake. Sorry, Susie, but the mouth-watering pieces. This is. You're a wonderful cook. I know you're a wonderful cook, but art history, you cannot beat art history.
Susie's like, well, I've got my cake. So
oh my God, yes. She is a great cook. My God, Susie's cakes. Oh my God, it's wonderful.
oh, we'll get back to the university soon. But for now, thank you all so much. Lovely to see something about you. And I know that the students really love meeting the academics who are putting together these modules. You've all worked incredibly hard. It sounds so exciting. So thank you, Warren, Angeliki, and Susie, for joining me. Susie, enjoy your cake.
Thank
and
you.
We'll
Yes,
be back very
Susie.
soon for our next session about music. So I'll see you in just a few minutes.